But what is the responsibility of the federal government when at the local level there is no capacity? This is the low-income communities or struggling place like Puerto Rico that's always been the short end of every stick. When does that model break down?
So first of all,
is this Congress or who?
So is it FEMA's job to make sure that infrastructure around this country is maintained? Is it? Right? So it's the whole community's responsible. I know what my responsibilities are.
Right.
But if you're going to put me in a position in your community to where you've done nothing to maintain your infrastructure, you're not properly insured, which is the most expensive expenditure FEMA has, is repairing uninsured public facilities and replacing content, which is a moral hazard.
Yeah. What's your status on? There are places where insurance, like federal disaster aid, is stuck at rebuilding to the existing norm. Let's take climate change. We're in the Hudson Valley where I live. Floyd, that same storm came through and devastated all these bridges, and they're built back to the same standard as opposed to a new standard.
Right. So now we have authorities, though, in the Robert T. Stafford Act, which guides everything that I can do. There's a section in there called Section 428 that allows me to put $40 or $50 billion into Puerto Rico and kind of run it like a business. Here's a $40 billion budget. Governor, what is your goal? What is your resilience vision right now? Instead of talking about all the political finger pointing right now, what the discussion needs to be is all of this money that comes out of your pocket as a taxpayer is going there to rebuild this community. Governor, what are your goals of a viable and economically sound Puerto Rico? And then let's grab the funding that comes not just from FEMA, but it comes from 17 different federal government agencies.
Right.
It comes from nonprofits. Tell me one governor that's ever had that kind of money put in their lap that says, all right, here's how we're going to rebuild and do the greatest good with this funding so that we never go through this ever again.
I remember when Trump was running for election, there was this leaked infrastructure investment plan. And then he put out an investment plan. I kept thinking,
so
why isn't there integration between that and both electrical grid and resilient infrastructure could be an integrated policy that comes from the top? Why is that there?
So, but if you look at, the president is very supportive of FEMA. And if you look at his national security strategy, and every once in a while I've been responsible for a couple tweets, okay?
Small victories. Yeah.
He's a big believer in pre-disaster mitigation, which is part of the national security strategy. And every time you hear me go before Congress, and I think I've been 10 or 11 times now, the bottom line is that we keep saying pre-disaster mitigation is the key. The only time you're going to get hit in this community right now is if you have a devastating disaster that comes through and wipes out the uninsured properties within this community, and then it triggers a numeric indicator that says federal government assistance from FEMA should be allotted here, and it comes in. And then you have to get hit to have access to massive amounts of mitigation dollars to do any good. Right. So what I'm trying to do is change that to put it up front. We need people lobbying that, and I think we're this close.
So how much of this gets back to this culture question you mentioned? For example, and this also ties together the local risk and federal costs. Headwaters Economics, which is a conservative free market think tank looking at Western issues like water and wildfire, they did a study that showed pretty clearly that you could look at federal firefighting response as a subsidy, and it's letting all these local communities off the hook, meaning that if they're not paying their fair share of that, then there's nothing in Colorado to prevent you from okaying a local development going up a mountain in a known fire zone.
So the key to disaster resilience is not FEMA, it's not the federal government, it lies at the local level. You guys have to be the ones at the local level to pass land use planning codes and building codes. That's where the key to disaster resilience is.
But shouldn't the federal government be saying, you guys got to pay some of the bill too?
Now, what we've got to be able to do, here again, it's a whole community approach. Everybody is responsible. Preparedness is everybody's responsibility from the citizen to the President of the United States, okay? We have to figure out what the appropriate amounts are. But I can tell you, for example, my general fund budget at Alabama Emergency Management Agency to be in charge of disaster response in Alabama was $7 million a year. I was spending that an hour, every hour in 2017. There's too much of a gap, and the expectations are growing unreasonable. My operational budget and my staff capacity does not grow with the number of events that we pick up. it stays where it is. I can reimburse everybody, your community to other agencies that help out, but I can't reimburse myself. So we pick up a new disaster every 3 days at FEMA, whether it's a wildfire, whether it's a tornado, or whatever it may be. We pick up a new event every 3 days. At some point, the system breaks if you continue to say FEMA's got to do better, or you need to double or triple my budget.